Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into one of the most incredible stories our planet has to tell, the evolution of plants. And trust me, this is way more than just a biology lesson. It's an epic saga of survival, of innovation, and of conquest that's been playing out for hundreds of millions of years.
I mean, think about it for a second. How did life go from the absolute simplest of beginnings, basically the green slime you might find on a pond,
all the way to these massive, complex forests that literally defined our landscapes and produce the very oxygen we breathe? Well, that's the incredible adventure we're about to go on.
Okay, so before we really get going, we need to properly introduce the main characters of our story. Now, you probably think you know exactly what a plant is, but funnily enough, the scientific definition has actually changed quite a bit over the years. We used to include things like fungi in this group, but now we've narrowed it down to 5 key groups that make up the true plant kingdom.
And here they are. This is our evolutionary roadmap for today. We're going to start with the algae, the original ancestors living in the water. Then we'll see how bryophytes took that first, shaky step onto dry land. After that, the pterophytes came along with a revolutionary internal transport system. Then the gymnosperms perfected the seed, and finally the angiosperms who use flowers to basically take over the entire planet.
All right, let's dive right in. Every great story has a beginning, and for plants, that story begins in the water. The very first group, the algae, are the foundation for everything, and I mean everything that comes after.
So what makes an alga, an alga? Simple. They have chlorophyll, so they can make their own food from sunlight. Their body structure is super simple, just a thallus, with no fancy organs like roots or leaves. And this is the key part. They are almost totally aquatic. This is the basic blueprint for a plant, but it's a blueprint that is 100% tied to the water.
Now don't let that simple blueprint fool you. Algae are incredibly diverse. They're generally split into 3 main classes: green, brown, and red. And this isn't just about what color they are. It's about the specific chemical cocktails they use, the different pigments for photosynthesis, and the different molecules for storing energy. Each one is a unique solution for thriving in the water.
And you should never ever mistake their simplicity for being unimportant. Get this, algae are responsible for at least half, 50% of all the carbon dioxide fixation on the entire planet. That means they are the foundation of nearly every aquatic food web and are pumping out enormous amounts of oxygen. Our world, as we know it, literally couldn't exist without them.
Okay, so after totally mastering the aquatic world, plants faced their next great frontier, the land. And this was a huge challenge, a harsh, dry, difficult environment. The pioneers who made that first brave move were the bryophytes, our mosses and liverworts.
You know, the absolute best way to think about bryophytes is as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. Seriously, just like a frog, they can live on land, but they can never stray too far from the water. And why is that? Because for them to reproduce, they still need water. Their entire existence is a balancing act between these two worlds.
And you can really see the evolutionary leap they took right here. Compared to algae, their body is way more complex. They actually started to develop structures that acted like roots, stems, and leaves, which helped them anchor themselves and soak up nutrients. It was a massive step up, but still, they were chained to that moist environment.
But, and this is a big but, bryophytes still had some major limitations. They didn't have any real vascular tissue, no internal plumbing system to move water around. That meant they couldn't grow tall. Plus, their male gametes literally had to swim through droplets of water to reach an egg. This is exactly why you only find mosses in those damp, shady spots. They'd figured out part of the land-living puzzle, but definitely not all of it.
So, to get to the next level, plants needed a serious hardware upgrade, a total revolution, really. And that's where the paraterophytes, the ferns, and their relatives come onto the scene. They solved the height problem by inventing something absolutely brilliant, an internal vascular system.
And this was a total game changer. Pteridophytes were the very first plants to have true vascular tissues, these specialized cells called xylem and phloem. This is that internal plumbing we were talking about. It's like a network of pipes that can pull water up from the soil and send it all the way to the top. For the first time ever, plants could actually defy gravity and start reaching for the sky.
And what an upgrade it was. While bryophytes had these sorta roots, pteridophytes had the real deal. True roots, stems, and leaves, all powered by this new vascular system. This meant they could grow tall, get more sunlight, and start to really dominate the land.
Their whole life cycle shifted too, with the main plant body becoming what we call a sporophyte, which is a much more robust and complex design.
But even with all this amazing new tech, there was still one nagging weakness, one final chain that tied them back to their aquatic origins. Just like the bryophytes before them, ferns still needed a film of water for fertilization to happen. Those male gametes still had to swim. So while they could live in drier places, they could only reproduce where it was wet enough. They had conquered the land, but they hadn't quite mastered it.
To truly, finally master the land, plants had to cut that aquatic cord once and for all. They had to solve the reproduction problem for good. And the solution they came up with? It was arguably the single greatest innovation in the entire history of plants: the seed.
The seed is just pure genius. Think of it like this. It's a baby plant, an embryo packed inside a tough protective coat with its own personal lunchbox full of food. This perfect little package completely eliminated the need for water during fertilization. The new delivery system? Pollen, which could just catch a ride on the wind.
Now, two major groups really ran with this new seed technology. First, you have the gymnosperms, like pine trees. Their name literally means naked seed because their seeds just sit out in the open, on cones. Then came the angiosperms, the flowering plants, and they took things to a whole other level. They enclosed their seeds inside a fruit and developed flowers, which were brilliant devices for recruiting animals to help with pollination. A much, much more efficient system.
And when you put all of these upgrades together, it becomes crystal clear why seed plants completely dominate our world today. They are built tough. They have adaptations like needle-like leaves and waxy coatings to save water, and by completely protecting the reproductive process inside the parent plant and using airborne pollen, they were finally able to colonize just about every habitat on Earth, from the hottest deserts to the frozen tundra.
And just like that, the journey is complete. I mean, think about where we started. Simple little cells floating around in the ocean. We followed them as they took their first steps onto land, invented internal plumbing, and finally created the masterpiece that is the seed and the flower. It's a journey that has literally reshaped our entire planet.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. As our world continues to change, as our climate shifts, which of these ancient evolutionary tools, the ability to conserve water, the efficiency of different pollination strategies, the resilience of a seed, which of these will be the key to survival in the next chapter of the plant kingdom's amazing story?